I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is September 8th, and the topic of today's show is going to be the partial solar eclipse that's coming up. It really begins on September 12th, just around midnight, and it ends on the 13th. So that is going to be the main topic, but I'm also going to touch upon Mercury's retrograde, and I'm also going to touch upon the fourth total lunar eclipse that we will experience in the course of the last 2 years. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the word eclipse, which stems from the Greek verb that means to cease existing. You know, in ancient times, eclipses were considered a time of fear. And you know, not the most ancient times, but some of the ancient times there were certain tribes that used the eclipse as a way to control the people and instill fear in them. And when in fact it is a time of change, it is a time of endings, it is a time of new beginnings, particularly a solar eclipse, because that really speaks to our identity, who we are, where we're going, why we're going there. And so I'm going to go into depth on speaking about this and this particular solar eclipse that's coming up on, September 13th is really when it's going to climax. And so as we here on Earth see the sun, the moon, and Earth closely aligned, cosmic information travels easily into our Earth's realm, meaning that there's no interruption with this energy. It's a very, very powerful time. It alters the fabric of time and space in each of our lives. And I have a chart I'm going to put on the screen of that solar eclipse. And there it is. You see it highlighted down in the bottom left corner of the screen. And this eclipse actually, as I said before, eclipse, the word stems from the Greek verb that means to cease existing. And again, so let's really talk about what that means, because when you look at this chart here, you see the blue shaded area with the symbol for the sun, which is a circle with a dot, and the symbol for the moon, which is the crescent, both at 20 degrees in the constellation of Virgo, and is right next to what we call the north node of the moon. And that is at 0 degrees Libra. What does that mean? To everyone out there watching the show that doesn't really speak the language of astrology but wants to know, what does that mean to me? First of all, if you're a Virgo, or if you're a Sagittarius, if you have Gemini energy, if you have Pisces energy, this is going to be a huge time of change in your life. If you have any planets that are in Earth signs in your chart, there's 10 planets. Not only do we look at the sun in somebody's birth chart, we also look to beyond that, because that is only the front that we show. So for instance, if you have Earth energy, meaning Taurus, meaning Virgo, meaning Capricorn, anywhere close to 20 degrees, anywhere in your chart, this eclipse is going to take you in a totally different direction. So it really does speak to us depending on what area of the personal chart, your birth chart, that this eclipse will fall in. So on a universal level, what I'm going to touch upon is that this solar eclipse as a whole, to everybody, being in the sign of Virgo, it is going to be a time that we really are on a universal level, breaking things down, analyzing them. I mean, really slowly. Very, very slowly. Virgo is a sign of health and well-being. It brings that symbology to each and every one of us. Virgos like to take their time. They like to kind of consider where things fit. They like to analyze them, but I would really, really warn everyone with the Virgo energy to really take the time to discern rather than judge. Take the time to break things down, analyze them, and see where they fit in the kaleidoscope of the whole. And that might be that sort of like a puzzle. And this is a marker, this solar eclipse, of 6 months of change that will be occurring in your life. So it's like a picture that's beginning to be painted. And when you start to paint a picture, everybody might do that in a different way, depending on how you're looking at the object that you're painting. So I'm going to go a little bit further into what this universally, what this eclipse is conveying to us. It really is indicating that on the surface, everybody is looking at the health and well-being and the structure of the whole world. It is conveying that security on all realms. I don't only talking about material. I'm talking about security of our health and well-being. What's healthy for me? What is my work? Is this the work that I want to do, or am I going backwards? Is this the work that fulfills me? Am I serving everyone to the best of my ability? But also, am I serving myself? Am I healthy on this road of forward movement? It is a very beneficial eclipse, meaning that we are ceasing anything that is not of benefit to us. As far as relationships go, we see, if I put that chart back on the screen again, the solar eclipse, the partial solar eclipse. I think, John, we need the eclipse chart. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's the lunar eclipse. If we could, there we go. The solar eclipse. So the what we saw there that I talked about in the bottom corner, the north node of the moon at 0 degrees Libra, the axis of this direction that is beneficial is one that brings peace and harmony to all. So temperance, meaning that we temper anything that is off balance in our lives, that we take that time. For any of you out there who like archangels or are very spiritually inclined, for me, religion is nature. Nature is my religion. My relationships are my religion, or so to speak. That's what makes me happy, is to have that peace and harmony, and it is for many people, but for all of us, everybody on earth, what this eclipse is showing, this map, is that we need that temperance. We need this time to analyze what's healthy in our lives. Is this okay for me, or is this not okay for me? Is this okay for me and you? How can we figure that out? So eclipse, again, there's a lot more to this. This eclipse also asks us to consider what our dreams are, who we want to build those dreams with, who does not truly meet us halfway in the fulfillment of those dreams, and who is unconsciously yet consciously, realistically yet unrealistically. We're identifying all these areas of connection yet disconnection. It's truly an intense time to be alive on Earth. And, I've been asked by so many people, what's going on with this black hole? What's going on with the, with this energy? Everybody seems to be crazed. There's, and on the other end of the perspective, there's these miracles that are happening in people's lives, but humanly, we're kind of trying to keep up with something that's coming so fast. It's almost like you want to sit on your porch and in a rocking chair and just watch, because it's overwhelming at times. But anyway, very important that we consider these things that I'm talking about. I made a lot of notes in preparation for this show, and I want to touch upon them. Solar eclipses, such as this one, do bring to light questions of who we are, how we want to shine moving forward in our lives. I'd ask you to ask yourself this. A solar eclipse may feel like you're experiencing a reboot. You know, when you turn your computer on, it doesn't come up right. You have to reboot it, start it over. Basically, a reboot of our consciousness. Things dissolve and reform. New programs are generated, new pathways, new possibilities. It's a time of endings and new beginnings. We are cosmically guided to take a look at who we are and the health and the wellness of ourselves, and through whichever part of our life this eclipse calls for a cease and exist. Our identity is brought to our awareness. Questions like, who am I? Where am I going? How will I get there? What does the future look like for me? And a total analyzation of this piece of our lives is so critical. It's very, very critical. Because this partial solar eclipse, as I said before, is at 20 degrees of Virgo. It brings to our attention our work, our sense of wellness, and our sense of analyzing these areas of our lives, and questions like, am I doing the work that I came here to do? Do I feel well doing this work? Or is this work making me sick? Is this work that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, is this life schedule the most healthy for me? And then, of course, you also begin to think about, as I said before, how can I be of service to others? How can I help other people to be well on this path as well? There's a certain sense of mutation that is occurring. Virgo is a mutable sign. It means that there might be this sense of confusion, that it's time to really slow down. The other morning I was visiting a friend in Connecticut, and I was out walking our dog, our puppy, and it was foggy. It was so foggy, and I felt like, I'm standing amongst this fog. I can't even see to put my finger in front of me. It was that thick. And it might be that for you. And if it is that for you, perhaps you might want to stop and just pause, because that's what the universe is telling you. That's what, if you've got that type of energy in your life, it is very, very important to pause and take a look around and make sure that you're not stepping off the side of a cliff, or perhaps, you just need to pause to see what direction is going to be the most healthy for you. If you would like, in preparation, while we're in the dark of this eclipse, if you could just close your eyes for a minute, imagine a girls' basketball team. So you see that in your mind's eye, a girls' basketball team. There's a physical training going on. The coach is actively busy working to incorporate and keep the attention of all the girls on the team, so that the team as a whole works together in a healthy way, with each member fulfilling their purpose. And by closing your eyes, you kind of get a really good picture of what this energy feels like. Even though we're still on the dark side, we haven't gone through the eclipse, this hasn't occurred yet, but we can feel it coming. And so we can best use this eclipse to clarify, gather, harvest, concentrate on what is most important to us. So I'd encourage you to take that leap of faith and to remember you are capable of much more than you know. I had that realization just in the last couple of months, how very capable I am of lifting much more than 100 pounds. You wouldn't know that to look at me, but I can do it. Anyway, the purity of this Virgo sign is incorporated through the essence of this eclipse. Cease to continue on with anything that is not healthy or is not healthy for the whole. Take the time to break the areas down in your life that are not healthy, and to analyze them, reorganize them, and see how they fit, together with the purpose of what is best for everyone. So this eclipse, 20 degrees in the constellation of Virgo, brings up, you've heard this word, déjà vu, moments of a period in time which actually date back to 84 BC. And this is historically extremely important. We're going to, if you have any planets that are very close to 20 degrees Virgo in your chart, you will especially be walking through a town or visiting somewhere and going, I've been here before. When was I here before? That deja vu feeling is most likely going to be very prominent in your life. 84 BC was actually a time when classicism, Greece and Rome, pantheism, Christianity, Buddhism, and Taoism were very prevalent. And actually, I did some studying of the history of this time. And 84 BC was the year of the pre-Julian Roman calendar. And at the time, it was known as the year of the consulship of Carbo and Cinna, or less frequently, the year of 670. And then there's a Latin word, ab urb condita. And I think that's the actual way that they describe the year of the consulship of Carbo and Cinna. The denomination, though, of 84 BC that we are sort of parallel with at this time in our evolution has been used since the early medieval period, when the Anno Domini calendar era began or became the prevalent method in Europe for naming years. So it's interesting that that time period is very prevalent, very parallel to the time we're living in, where people are turning back and looking back to the roots of our human beingness and starting to say, remember things that were special, that were important, ways of expressing ourselves, art, and the classics and the beauty that came from that era. So I would encourage you to take a look at that detail in your life as well. Very important to recognize the positive pieces and the ways that we can channel our energy to be healthy. Now, I want to just talk for a couple minutes before we move to the September 27th total lunar eclipse about Mercury's retrograde, which is actually that retrograde. Mercury is the planet of communication, thought, ideas, making decisions. We are actually in the foreshadow of that Mercury retrograde. That Mercury retrograde is going to start September 17th, and it begins at 11:41 a.m. EST here in New England. And it begins at 15 degrees in the constellation of Libra. Libra, the sign of relationships, peace, harmony, balance, are all the end goal for everyone. However, there's quite likely to be this storm that many people are in right now, especially people with cardinal signs, Libra, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer. Especially those signs are very influenced by this Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde lasts from September 17th through October 9th. You might want to write that on your calendar. Not a time to be making a decision. Not a time to be signing a contract, if you can help it. If you have to sign a contract, if you have to sign a lease agreement, in that time, know that it will change quickly. Know if you start a new job, it will be a job that you don't stay at. Perhaps you graduate to a different position, or you move on to something bigger and better. And that's okay. But if you can at all help it, if you want to be in a permanent position or a permanent living situation, and you sign a contract knowingly in this time, it would be wise to know that you will need to accept that it will change in some way. The energy, logic is lessened. Reason is lessened. It's a time where, in ancient times, when Mercury was retrograde, the astrologers would warn people that it's almost like the mind is sick and it needs to go back to the light of our beingness, our God, our light, our sun. And Mercury and the sun actually come together halfway between September 17th and October 9th. I didn't write that date down, but if you would look somewhere halfway between there, about a week to a week and a half into that period, you'd see Mercury in our solar system and the sun actually join together. And that is the time where we go, aha, I get what this is about, why I needed to wait to make some decisions in my life, especially about relationships. This energy began back on August 27th. And that was when the foreshadow of this Mercury retrograde began. And basically, that was kind of like a precursor, foreshadow. When something is a shadow, that is ahead of you, you really don't know. You're getting little bits and tastes and pieces of what kind of experiences might be unfolding that you'll be going back over during the retrograde. So these dates are very important. Mercury retrograde, September 17th through October 9th. You're going to feel Mercury start to station around the 15th, I would say, of September, which is right around the corner. And then when it ends its retrograde, you'll feel it station again around October 7th, 8th, and the 9th it goes forward. But just give it some time before, if you've got some very major life decisions that you're making, you might want to be careful not to do them too hasty right on October 9th, even though or you've got a good sense of what your decisions might be. Basically, the after shadow of Mercury retrograde lasts till October 24th. So I just wanted to cover that for everyone out there who's, especially if you're ruled by Mercury, meaning that you're a Virgo or you're a Gemini. These are the two zodiac signs that are ruled by the planet Mercury. You are most affected. You are the most influenced. Use caution. Take this time. Use it to help you to get the right prescription to the means to a better end. Going on to talk about, because I'm not going to be doing a show for a month from today's date on, and so I just want to cover a little bit about the total lunar eclipse, full moon, that occurs on, and this is a blood moon, in fact, the fourth blood moon of a series of 4, so the moon's going to look red on this total lunar eclipse. And I have my chart upside down. September 27th, Sunday, September 27th. So the night of the 26th, you're going to see a really beautiful big full moon if we've got clear skies. And this lunar eclipse is actually over Europe, Southeast Asia, Africa, much of North America, much of South America, Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, Arctic, Antarctica. So it's at 4 degrees in the constellation of Aries, meaning the self and who we are as human beings. We're a very Aryan race here on Earth, and that is going to be like front and center, the person, who we are, where we've come from, where the route we've traveled, the road we've traveled, how important was that to us as a person. There's many things from the past that were going to be pertinent coming up in our lives. So this full moon total lunar eclipse paints a cosmic picture that we are on the threshold of a new way of being as human beings. And lunar eclipses really set a marker that things are changing in a way that we relate. And because it is a south node eclipse, it holds a meaning that it will be a profound change of direction. I'm going to put that chart on the screen before the end of the show. And you can see it right about noon at the top of the chart. You can see that lunar eclipse full moon. And you can also see that it is really like struggling. There's many people struggling emotionally because of things from the past that have affected us in somewhat of a combative way. Aries is not a sign that is calm and sits still. It's more inclined to stand up and say, I'm going to fight my way to the top. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try new things. They're the pioneers of the zodiac. They are the ones that try new things. They're the path pavers. However, with a south node lunar eclipse, relationships and things that have been experienced that have maybe been tumultuous with the self in past experiences and relationships are going to be highlighted. That's a big full moon. Full moon brings light to everything when it's full. Animals hunt because they can see. That's nature. And so this full moon I'm just going to give you something to leave you with at the end of this show. Just give me a minute, close your eyes, and imagine a man who is a teacher, very wise man, sort of like a Buddha. And he's telling his students about his knowledge of what he sees for them as a new way, a new direction. Perhaps you see this man as an Indian chief. Perhaps you see this man as a priest. Whatever form that takes, that's best for you. Hold this vision and see women and men. He's giving us wisdom, this teacher, of how men and women can renew together, how we can connect versus separate, how we can come together versus divide on our journey. And he's giving us wisdom on this life journey of how the perfect relationship is one that people connect, men and women connect in a way that they spiritually grow together rather than fight and argue and divide. So basically this wise man is giving us information, and that's what this lunar eclipse is going to do, is take us on this journey to help us to understand what we desire, what we want to fight for, what we don't want to fight for. Maybe there are certain endings in relationships that we need to recognize. And that chart you're seeing on the screen right there actually does contain what we call a grand cardinal cross, which is extremely powerful in our evolution. And it is one that is really telling us we need to go the way that brings that sense of temperance in our relationships. We need to consider both sides and not just ourselves. So anyway, everyone, I want to say thank you for all your support, and I want to thank you for turning to the stars for your answers. And always remember, turn to the stars. You'll find your answers there. Take good care, and I'll see you back here in 1 month.